When you challenge someone's behavior, they're not always going to be receptive to what you have to say. In fact, if you're challenging a personally sensitive topic, then they're liable to become extremely defensive. People can be defensive in all sorts of ways. They can claim offense, they can insult you, they can ignore you, they can even shift the blame if you're criticizing their or their group's behavior. Another common form of defense is not shifting the blame, but shifting the focus. Instead of saying that it's really someone else's fault for their bad behavior, they will shift the focus to someone else's bad behavior. This is the "what about them" defense. It's either to deflect attention away from themselves, or it's a way to excuse their behavior by pointing out that someone else's behavior is just as bad in a similar way. When it comes to a particular group, people only say "what about" when someone's criticizing a group that they have an attachment to. However, if you criticize a group that they don't care much for in exactly the same way, then of course they will just readily agree with you no matter what you say. In this case, the phrase "what about" won't even make an appearance. The phrase "what about" is just a form of defense. It's not a real argument. These people don't want to deal with all the world's issues, just the ones that make them emotional. If you look at the issue in the Gaza, there may only be a few people that try to have a balanced view. Many individuals will favor one side over the other in an emotional way. If you criticize Israel and someone says, "what about Hamas?" or "what about the Palestinians?" while not doing the same if you criticize Palestine, then you know that that person has an emotional investment, not a logical one. They just want to defend their own side no matter what the situation is, no matter how bad their behavior is. This situation doesn't only pertain to people defending those they feel connected to. Individuals can also defend anyone that appears to be in opposition to those they disdain. If you criticize Christians for being backwards in some regards, certain people will agree. But if you criticize Islam in almost the same way, then some of those very same people will say, "but what about Christianity?" These people would probably never consider saying, "but what about Muslims, or Hindus, or Taoists?" They will only do it to groups they have been socially or emotionally conditioned to hate. And why did I choose Christianity for this example? It's because certain non-Christian Westerners are more likely to think in this way. They may not exactly have an affinity with Muslims, Taoists, or Hindus, but they have been programmed to only hate their own kind and defend any group that appears to be a minority. In fact, the West could arguably have the most self-hating individuals in the world. And you'll notice that they frequently say "what about" when you criticize anything they consider to be non-Western. Never let anyone get away with saying "what about." You need to let them know that it's completely obvious what they're doing and why they're doing it. They know that what they or their group is doing is inexcusable, so you need to tell them that their attempt to distract you is pitiful and won't work. Hammer them on that point. Tell them that bad behavior of others can never excuse their own bad behavior. This is the kind of behavior that only a child would resort to. There's no way that someone that truly wanted to evolve as an individual would try to distract others and deny their or their group's obvious weaknesses. If you deny your own weaknesses, then how will you ever overcome them? If you let other people deny their weaknesses because you're just too lazy to challenge them, then you're just aiding in their regression as individuals, nothing more. The videos on this channel won't be overly long. The feeling is that if you can't explain a specific idea in a simple and short way, then you're likely rambling, unable to get to the point, or you're obfuscating for some reason. Some of the best philosophies can be found in a single sentence. If the topic of personal insecurity and its influence on the regression of the West is of interest to you, then there's a link below this video to my book addressing this issue. See you next time.